For anyone looking to start or grow a business, nonprofit, or finally become financially independent, that's going to involve a lot of personal and professional growth. When it comes to growth as entrepreneurs, we need to increase our knowledge, develop our skills, gain perspective, boost creativity, learn from others, manage stress, improve communication skills, and fine-tune our decision-making process. There are many ways to go about those things, and one of those ways is reading. That's what we're talking about in this video. And today I want to go over 5 of the main benefits of reading, and then I'll let you decide if reading is worth your time. Of course, it is more of a time investment than something like watching a video or listening to a podcast or something like that, but perhaps there are additional benefits to reading after all. So let's start with number 1. Knowledge and skill building. This probably comes as no surprise to anyone because this is the main reason that we probably pick up an informative book to begin with. Books help us learn things. We're reading material from authors who know about a certain subject and they're passing on their wisdom to us through their words. What's really fantastic about books, though, is how much depth and how much variety you can get in just a few hundred pages. You could spend an entire college semester just beginning to cover a certain topic, whereas you can get someone's whole lifetime of experience in just a few hundred pages and read that in a couple hours or a couple days. And another great advantage that you get in terms of knowledge and skill building from books specifically is that they're very structured. The author puts in a lot of work into actually organizing a book and structuring it so that you build your knowledge as you go, and it's laid out in a very understandable and follow-alongable way. So you are building on that knowledge and getting things in a logical order that actually helps you learn and remember things. Ideally. You can probably get a lot of the same information from random blog posts, videos, and podcasts and things like that, but when it's not actually put together and structured with the other surrounding information, sometimes it can be difficult to actually form that into a better understanding and a bigger picture connection of where everything fits together. And while we may pick up a book to answer a couple questions we have about a specific thing, reading also brings up questions that we didn't know to ask to begin with. It expands our concept of what is out there, what is relevant, and what is possible. The next benefit is mentorship, perspective, and communication. By reading books, we're not only gaining that knowledge and that experience and wisdom from an author who's willing to share their field of expertise or a particular experience, we're also sort of building a library of mentors and advisors that we can turn to whenever we have a question or want to develop even further. And while we may not be able to ask them direct questions and get a direct answer, we can still turn back to their books whenever we're trying to explore a certain topic a little bit further and sort of ask questions of the book and see what we can uncover that way. It's a more active form of reading and it takes a little bit more practice and a little bit more work to learn, but it's definitely worth it, and it's a way to sort of turn these authors and these books into our own little mentors. While reading, we also grow ourselves in other ways. We increase our empathy by reading about different perspectives. We increase our social perception. And it's important that we start to recognize that what we're reading actually comes from another human being. It's not just words on a page. It's actually someone sharing their life, sharing their experiences and their wisdom and their knowledge. And this other person is a complex human being just like us. Most importantly, they're still a human being, even if their views are a little bit different from ours. Expanding our viewpoints and our exposure in this way helps us to better connect with other people, even if their views are different. These could be people that we're working with, our teams, our customers, our audience, whoever that may be. We become more understanding and more able to connect on a more personal level and tailor our messaging accordingly. And when it comes to tailoring messaging, that brings us to the last part of this benefit, which is communication skills. Reading gives us exposure to all different kinds of writing styles, different voices that are used throughout the text, different language styles, all of which can improve our verbal and written communication skills. We actually learn how to relate to others better, and communication is one of those things that will always be needed in any sort of field that you're working in, so this is a huge benefit from reading. The third benefit goes to our cognitive functioning. An important distinction between learning from reading and learning from other forms of content that are out there is, again, like we talked about in the first point, books are very structured. Information is really organized and kind of broken down logically so that things kind of tie together and build on each other. And authors really go through a thorough process of planning things out and organizing things so that they can deliver that content in the best possible logical way. This can help you both comprehend the material better as well as retain more of it and remember more of it for longer. Learning from reading can also help us make more informed decisions. Not only are we taking in more information, but we're also improving our analytical thinking skills and our decision-making process. Reading guides us through essentially the scientific method of identifying a problem, coming up with alternative solutions, testing our ideas and our hypotheses, validating our assumptions or ideas, presenting us evidence, and then learning from the whole process. And of course, all of these skills can be seamlessly applied to any other aspect of our life. The fourth main benefit of reading is stress management. Perhaps a more unexpected benefit, but reading, and this includes informative texts, not just novels and stories, is a very effective stress-relieving activity. Now, why is that? When we start to read, we get into this sort of reading mode where we become so focused on what we're reading. Not only does that actually help to relax us and put us in a state of deeper relaxation, it actually affects the amount of brainwaves, the different kinds of brainwaves that we're experiencing, but we also begin to visualize what we're reading, whether that's information, whether that's story. We may start to connect with the characters if there's a story involved, and we slowly begin to forget everything that was worrying us out there in the real world. A study from the University of Sussex found that reading even just 6 minutes a day was enough to reject 2/3 of the stresses that a person faces, and that this 6-minute reading session is enough to slow your heart rate, reduce muscle tension, and lead to that bonus physical relaxation as well. A 2009 study found that reading led to a 68% reduction in stress levels, more than other stress management techniques such as listening to music, drinking a cup of tea, playing video games, or going for a walk. And reading for just 30 minutes per week was shown to improve overall life satisfaction by 20%. That's just 30 minutes a week. That seems worth it. And our fifth benefit, synthesis and creativity. This benefit opens up endless possibilities going forward. While we're reading, we're essentially entering an altered state of consciousness because of the relaxation and the visualization, the difference in brainwaves that are produced. And this encourages our brains to not only become more open and accepting to new viewpoints and ideas, but also able to better organize and process them. When we read, we open up a vast array of topics and fields and information and experiences that are just available and out there for us to explore. And while we already talked about building our knowledge and our skills, books are not only a source of information, but also inspiration. They're a great creativity boost, and we can also start to synthesize material, which basically means that we're learning different things from different places and actually making connections in our brain to come up with new ideas that weren't in any of the original sources. And while we read, we already talked about visualizing the story and the characters and the setting, or even just the information that we're reading. This builds that visualization skill in our minds and builds that ability to be able to actually see things that don't actually exist in front of us. This stimulates our imagination, which is another way to say creativity, which is the key to innovation. And that stress-reducing aspect of reading also makes a lot more mental and emotional space for creativity to occur. Reading also stimulates the part of the brain that's involved with retention and memory, which then is able to bring up all these ideas that we've read elsewhere and again, synthesize them with the things that we're reading now. And that enables us to piece together things and come up with more innovative and creative ideas. So those are the 5 key benefits that I've found that make reading definitely worth your time. And each one is also kind of multiple benefits. So maybe we could expand that to even more than 5. But if I still haven't convinced you, why not try it yourself? Maybe just 6 minutes a day or 30 minutes a week. And on that note, we actually have a book club starting up pretty soon. April 7th, we'll be starting our book club here at the Ramen Phase. We'll be reading 1 book per week focused on personal and professional growth, and there are a couple ways that you can participate. For one, we have a Facebook group called MISO, which is an acronym for Mentorship, Inspiration, Support, and Outreach, and you're welcome to join that. I'll leave the link below in the description. We also have a MISO Goodreads group, so if you're on Goodreads or if you're interested in joining, you can find us on there, and I'll leave the link to that in the description as well. And finally, we have a Patreon as well. We have MISO Plus, which is our Patreon, and one of the tiers actually includes a lot of extra book club content, like a book review video for each book that we read. I'll give my own interpretation of the book, things that I thought were really important, kind of a summary in case you didn't actually read the whole thing, and of course we can have a discussion there as well. It also includes things like book club polls, so you can vote on one of the books that we'll read, and all that kind of stuff. I'll leave the link for that as well. We start reading every Friday, again starting April 7th, 2023, and we'll do the discussions on the next Friday before we start reading the next book. With all that being said, I hope this was helpful. I hope it inspired you to read more and to get back on track with your reading. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about other benefits for reading. Perhaps there's something I missed. Perhaps there's something that you learned in this video, and I'd really love to hear that in the comments below. Let's start a discussion and encourage each other to read more because it's awesome. All right, I gotta go get back to reading, but I hope to see you in our book club, and there's a lot more content coming on this channel. You're always welcome here, and I hope to see you in the next one.